In this video, I'm making a rack to hang these grinders on the side of my welding table. This square tube is 1.5 by 1.5 by 14 gauge. This footage is sped up a little bit, but when I'm cutting with an angle grinder, I like to score my line first. If you look for it, you'll see me do it on all 4 sides of this square tube. I think that it helps me cut straighter. I've been using this method to cut with an angle grinder as long as I can remember, and here I am using it again to cut this angle iron. This angle iron is 1.5 by 1.5 by 14 gauge. I've talked about how I like to cap square steel in other videos, but here it is again. I take a scrap piece of steel and tack it on, and then I cut the excess off. If you'll notice, I leave an edge all the way around because when you're MIG welding, it's nice to have somewhere to lay that wire. Some of these welds I can pull straight through, and some you see me light up and stop and light up and stop, and it's because I start to blow through. It's probably a combination of me moving too slow and the machine being a little bit too hot for the thickness of this metal. Here's how that cap turned out. These welds are not the prettiest, but on a project like this, we don't care. We're not selling this to anybody. Let's grab the flat disc and clean this up. As we clean this up and break this edge, you're going to see a lot of porosity in these welds, but it's all good. This material was really dirty and rusty to start with, and this is just a quick and dirty shop project. Just doing a quick mock-up here before I weld this down here into place. The only point of the square tube is just to beef up the angle iron so the weight of the angle grinders doesn't make it sag over time. One of the things I was wanting to check before I get this welded up was whether or not I needed to notch this out. All the grinder holders I've seen online all have these notches, and that is just to allow the grinders to sit deeper into the holder. But I have a Makita, a Bosch, a Metabo, Bauer. They all seem to sit flat except for the Harbor Freight. So for now, I'm gonna just weld it on like it is. I have a couple other grinders as well. So if I need to come back and put notches in here, then it won't be a problem to take my plasma cutter and just, zip some notches out. But I want to be able to put these anywhere on here. And that is another reason why I'm going over the outside instead of on the inside, because I can get a few extra angle grinders on here. And this may not be permanent. We can always cut it off. You'll never even know it was there. I could easily burn through this cheap primer, but I don't want to smell it burning, so I'm going to knock a good bit of it off. This whole thing is a bit overkill with the welding. You really only need a couple of small welds to hold this thing together, but when you're using this hot glue gun, it's easy to just keep laying it down. Here we go. Let me know what you think. Super quick. I may add some cord hooks. I may add some notches that we talked about. I will prime this at some point. This is the way that I usually store my cords anyway on these grinders. So I guess for now, that's gonna be good. There's a couple more grinders floating around and I should be able to get them on this rack if I need to. I can also, some of the ones that I don't use as often, I can tighten up just to make some more space. Slide these over. Obviously that wouldn't be real convenient if I was using them often. These two I use more than any of my other ones. I may not even end up keeping this big one on here. This is the 7-inch. It doesn't get used that often. Let me know what you think. It's not real fancy, but it does serve its purpose. I'll catch you on the next one.